Hey guys, not too much footage this week from a training side of things, but I thought I'd take you inside TrainingPeaks again. It's been a couple of weeks now, and show you exactly what the coming week is going to look like. Second phase of the base phase, so block 2, but then week 3. So it should be the biggest block of the program so far. Built back up, looking for a pretty solid week with a couple of bigger sort of sessions in there as well, fitting a couple of bigger bike sessions in, some zone 2 work. But just a sort of quick check-in on what's been happening the last couple of weeks. I had been sort of planning to get a bunch of things done in terms of my bike fit and aero testing and a whole bunch of really cool content. I ran into a few hiccups with components. So what I did was I bought a power meter for my TT bike. I got a Pioneer crank set, which is the old Tegra cranks, 165mm, but I got the power meter, dual-sided power meter attached to it and inbuilt into the crank, which is going to be great in terms of usability in the field and actually collecting some really quality data and being able to map out my training sessions better when I'm out on the bike once the weather starts warming up and I'm not restricted on the trainer. Downside is though, when we put the cranks on, Cannondale have a different bottom bracket. So instead of being what they call a press fit 30, they have a press fit 30A. It's a different bottom bracket to than what most manufacturers use and what most manufacturers create when you're creating a bottom bracket. I had to get a new one because the old Tegra crank versus the FSA crank that was already on the bike has a different attachment. I don't really know bike componentry too well, but it has a different attachment or a different size, sort of almost through axle type thing, if that's the term for it. I'll probably get it wrong. Through the middle of the bike, that means I have to get a new bottom bracket, and that means they had to order one in, the guys at the bike shop. Which was great. They could get that. They actually arrived really quickly, got it on the bike, cranks went on, and the cranks didn't have enough clearance across where the bottom brake is. So I've sort of run into a few issues and I had to buy a new set of brakes, but it's actually going to be pretty cool because I'm interested to see how they go. I ended up getting the Tri-Rig Omega X brake, which is like the aero brake, and a few of the pros have used them. They look really streamlined. They actually look quite simple to adjust and put on as well, but hopefully they're a little bit more aero, which is a bit of a bonus, but they actually fit underneath the bottom bracket a little bit better so I can get my crank through. Alright, so that's enough about the dramas of the bike. I'm hoping those brakes should come in either this coming week or the following week, which means then I should be able to get the aero testing done with Canon Adaptive, and then hopefully all the bike fit and get that all sorted, which will be, that'll be heaps of content. That could potentially be 2 weeks worth of content that I can send out to you guys. So hopefully that makes up for a little bit of not too much this week, but let's jump around into TrainingPeaks and I'll show you what's going on in the coming week. All right guys, so I've got TrainingPeaks open here. As you can see, I've planned out the week. We look at the week starting in the week 19th of August. So you can see on my little ATP block on the side here, base phase 2, week 3, so this is the biggest week of this base block. And what we've got to start on the Monday, I didn't actually get, if I scroll back through and have a look, nothing on the weekend because I had a game Sunday for footy. So what does that mean? That I need to get my zone 2 bike done today. So I've got 2 hours planned, jump on the trainer, just jump on Zwift and roll the legs over, and nothing too high intensity, but just keep them ticking over for a couple of hours, get the tunes pumping and see how we go. Moving into tomorrow, obviously we got training Tuesday, Thursday as per usual, as you would have noted through the program. Can't change those, but I'm going to try and swim tomorrow. What I have got is a session called Rolling Hundreds. Very simple session. It just makes zone 2 swimming a little bit more enjoyable, and you can see here a couple of hundred warm up, adding in some backstroke as well, a few short efforts to get the arms moving. Main set, rolling 100, so 100 meter easy, 100 meter moderate, 100 meter hard. I got some RPEs here on the side as well, and then a cool down. Repeating it 4 times. So it's 1,200 meters of continuous swimming, but it's just changing through the gears. And if you've listened to any of the Physiology Secrets podcast that I do with Mets, I did an episode with Brenton from Effortless Swimming. He was talking about being able to manipulate and change gears as you swim. So hopefully that's a really useful session for just practicing swimming at a slower intensity and higher intensity and somewhere in between, but making sure my stroke and my technique is consistent across the board and I can accelerate and decelerate as I need to. Moving into Wednesday, gym session, pretty similar to what I described in last week's episode. So very basic, simple, nothing too long in terms of gym sessions, just hitting the key movements and making sure I'm nice and strong through every part of my body, so I'm not going to be breaking down, particularly when, as you can see, some of this training load is picking up as we move. Wednesday is going to be a hell of a session, so I've been working pretty hard. I feel like I'm improving a bit on these VO2 intervals, but we've got a set of descending intervals, 17 minutes of work. You can see here it's just starting with the bigger efforts and moving our way to the shorter efforts. So we've got 2 3 minutes, 2 2.5s, and then 3 2-minute efforts. So 17 minutes of total working time at 255 watts or just above. Hopefully, been doing all right. So hopefully we can go just above with equal recoveries in between and a low spinning. So I've actually been finding I've been getting a lot better at these sessions and being able to back up after them a little bit better. So hopefully we can smash this one out and get into the deload next week. Feeling not too bad. Obviously training on a Thursday. Friday, gym and swim day on a Friday. I'm really enjoying that combination at the moment. And I've got some 150 repeats. These are slightly different though. So as you can see here, 8 by 150, 100 meters as hard as I can. So pretty much flat out like a VO2 effort. Then what I've got is a 50 meter active recovery swim. So essentially how this works is I'll be aiming to do these off pretty much a 3-minute turnaround. So what does that mean? I've got 90 seconds essentially to get through my 100 meter effort. And then I get 90 seconds to swim 50 meters active recovery before then taking the remaining rest on the wall. So I usually get about sort of 30 to 40 seconds on the wall, depending on how well I get through that initial 100 meter effort. Active recovery in there as opposed to just complete stop, bridging that gap between sort of continuous longer swimming efforts, 200s for example, and sort of 100 meter efforts. You can see actually as well, both my swim sets this week are 1800 meters. And I'm starting to build up a few of the Ks in there. Given that the race is only 1900, don't have to do massive amounts of Ks in single sessions, but I do need to start getting up and close to that sort of 2K in the session mark and being able to continuously swim, particularly in these ones, for getting closer to that sort of 1.9 is going to be a factor. Again, gym here, keeping it quite simple, probably similar day to what we've got on the Wednesday. Might just change things up a little bit. This week I got a night game for footy, so Saturday night's going to impact my week a bit. It's probably going to mean that this session on the Sunday, there's 2 hours 15 on the bike. The zone 2 endurance is probably going to be a little bit tough. Leg is going to be still a bit heavy, but we'll see how we go. So all in all, what do we got? We got sort of 5 hours 17 planned training time. That's not including these gym sessions, which are going to be about an hour each. These training sessions are probably going to be an hour, and the game day is probably about 2.5. So we're looking at about 9 to 10 hours total for the week in terms of total training duration. So yeah, that's my training for the week, and that's how it's going to look in this last week of base 2. I've then got a deload week coming up the following week, and then we're hitting base phase 3, work through that one all the way through pretty much towards the middle of September. And then it's a case of I'm going to be retesting after this next block, see where everything's moved or where it hasn't moved to in terms of my physiology, understand where my training zones are now at. And then I'm going to be able to reassess, all right, do I need an extra little 4 weeks of base, or am I going to start heading into the build phase and get around that threshold, more race-specific stuff? I'm going to be starting looking at some practice or lead-in races to Busso as well over the next little while, so if you have any suggestions, let me know. Hopefully this week goes all right. I'm feeling pretty good physically. Body's holding up all right, ran well over the weekend at footy and sort of riding well, like I said, in the VO2 intervals. So looking forward to getting through another week of the base phase and a big week this one, but keen to get into the deload week the week after. So we'll see you next week.